What's up, Michael?
What's up, man? We got
I can
video.
I can see you.
This is awesome, dude. All right.
Yeah.
Everyone got to bear with us. It's our first video, but we're excited you can finally see us.
Yes. And you know what? If you don't like the way we look, then just turn us off, but still listen because we
Just deal
really
with it,
appreciate
okay?
it.
Deal with it. Yeah, you
Yeah.
got the audio version. Don't worry about us.
Yes. Don't worry. Wow, we got a great
Welcome
show for you
to the
planned.
Mike's on the Mike's first video podcast.
Yep. Yeah. We're gonna give this a go. I think we got something good going here. Let's see what happens.
It's what the people have been wanting. So let's give
Yes.
them what they want.
Let's give the people what they want. Perfect.
All right,
Yeah,
well,
we got a
first,
great show for you guys planned. We're gonna get into some Green Bay Lions. We're gonna get into we got some fun topics related to Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes.
got my cheese
Um,
grater ready to
got our
go.
cheese grater, love it. Hopefully, we'll be doing some of that tomorrow. We'll give you our NFL power rankings. We're gonna get into the Michigan OSU upset. Some baseball talk and a little stud and dud. So, Mike, how was your Thanksgiving?
That was great, man. I cooked a turkey this year. Had
You
family in
did.
from out of town. Hosted here at my house. It was a good time, man. We had a blast. It was a fun, long, exhausting weekend, but all good times. How was yours, man?
You didn't deep fry it like your shed or anything, burn anything down, did you?
Oh no, no. No, I'm not ready for that yet. Hell no. How
All
was
right.
your Thanksgiving?
It was good. Yeah, we watched the Lions game at home. A little nail biter there, and then we went to Megan's or my wife's aunt's house and had a great dinner. Good to see everybody. Yeah, it was nice. It was nice to have a little break too. So
Yeah, it went by way too fast. And
right, like, can you think of it's already a week ago? It's crazy.
I know, it's crazy. I
Yeah,
will say that watching that Lions game, it almost took for granted how much stress we did not have over the last like 5 weeks of football,
yeah, right.
minus the Houston game, because I got the whole family's over, and I'm just like pacing back and forth, like, oh my god, what is happening?
Yeah. I think at one point we probably all we're about to chalk that up to an L. Like, okay, the Lions are probably due to lose.
Right.
But the Bears just, do Bears things. And
I mean, what the hell were they thinking at the end of the game there? I'm watching. I'm
right.
like, do they not realize what's happening here? Do they not see how this is going to end?
The only thing I can think of is that Eberflus did not realize he had a timeout. Like, that's the only thing I can think. And then they just, like with a young quarterback, you know what I mean? They just not have practiced their 2 minute drill enough because they were just like so nonchalant and just not with
So
it.
you're telling me
And
not a single person on that team, whether it was Caleb Williams or the head coach or the freaking water boy, didn't know that there was a timeout and should be yelling at the coach?
right. Right, because I think between that last play or the second to last play and the last play, like they burned like 30 something seconds off the clock.
Yeah.
And just, yeah, you got a timeout, use it. Like, what the, yeah, I don't know.
Rumor has it that Eberflus is taking that timeout with him to his next job. Dude, the memes that have been out about that are
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah, him and Ryan Day may want to start a little chat group about resume building.
Oh, we'll get into that game in a little bit, but how embarrassing for OSU. Not to take anything away from the Michigan win, but and we'll get into how rivalries play into that. But
Yeah.
that's OSU should be they should be embarrassed.
Yep, they should definitely. And I'm not going to say sorry for that at all. Good luck.
I don't know. Hey, a win's a win.
I'll take it. Yeah. All right,
All right.
let's get into this game tomorrow. The Lions and stuff. What do you
What's your initial reaction going into tomorrow? Got division game, NFC game.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
Like the way the Lions have kind of looked the last game, especially that second half, they just kind of looked a little bit flat, tired, spent. I mean, there's so many injuries. Like the injury report came out today. You got Reeder, Pascal, Onzarike, and Decker are all going to be out. So
on
you're
top of the other guys that are already out.
exactly Anzalone and Hutch and Rodriguez and whoever else, and it's just like, man. So like both of your O line and D line are both banged up pretty bad, and I don't like that. Like I'm worried. I'm pretty worried.
I'm a little nervous. I think these injuries are definitely coming back to hurt us.
Yeah,
I know we're missing Decker. I think our offense is still in pretty good shape. I do think that this game is going to take a lot of points by us. I mean, I'm
yeah,
talking in the 30s, because
yeah,
if our defense can't stop Green Bay, we're going to have to put up the points and hope that we can get some type of stop, whether it's
yeah,
hold them to a field goal at a pivotal point in the game, Branch or Joseph, smash and grab, getting something.
yeah.
I mean, it's going to come down to getting that key turnover.
Yeah, I agree. And the last game, the weather was really bad, and Green Bay was a bit banged up. But we did not have Branch for most of that game, and we were without JMO. But um, the key really is, like you said, is a turnovers. Like, can we make Jordan Love make a dumb mistake because he likes to do that? But that also requires getting enough of a pass rush. You know what I mean? So that we can allow Kirby Joseph or Branch or whoever is back there to create a turnover. Carlton Davis.
Exactly.
I know we got Mosley's playing this week, and that's big. Davis is playing. Like, that's good. But we still need to generate a pass rush. Green Bay will run the ball too. So, like, they're going to attack us. So we got to figure out something.
We got to get some stops. The whole offense is due for a big game. They're going to have to. I mean, whether it's Sonic and Knuckles, the same Brown, Laporta, all of them need to do something.
Yeah.
I think we should. I'm sure we'll have some type of trick play in there.
Right.
Let's make it a smart move, right? Because you don't want to give up anything that is going to pull your offense off the field, or going for a crazy fourth down play.
Right.
You want to keep that. You want to try to keep possession on our side majority of the game, because that defense needs a break. We are in such dire need of a bye week, or I know we don't have anymore, but these 10 days off that we get after this game, this team needs it so bad.
Yeah, they do. I 100% agree. This is this next 2 game stretch is just ridiculous with the Pack coming in, and then luckily these games are at home. But it's just like you said, the bye week. We haven't had a bye week since the end of September,
week 5. Which
I know.
I'm getting off topic here, but that's way too early for any team. I mean, the Washington Commanders are going in this week. They're on a bye week.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything about like being against the Commanders, but like week 5 to week 14, like it should be between like week 8 and week 12. They somehow work in every team a bye week, somewhat of the season, right?
Yeah.
Because week 5, you don't need a bye week. We're only 4 games in. The hell do I need a bye week for? Sure, you might have some banged up players, but like, and then you want us to go play 13 straight games after that, right? Plus, they know we get the Thanksgiving Day game, so it's a quick turnaround on those. And I'm not complaining about it. Just that seems so early in the season for any team to have a bye week at all. I mean, it shouldn't start until week 8.
I remember we're looking at the schedule.
You can go week 7, but week 7, week 8, week 5.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, I remember early in the season seeing that. I'm like, man, that is not good. Just because like you see what happens, like the injuries can just pile up, and if you don't get any rest, and then they got the Lions playing. What was it, against the Colts on Sunday, and then they played the Bears on Thursday. You know what I mean? That quick turnaround. Like, thank God the Lions were able to squeeze out 2 wins there.
Oh, and then
normally after a Thursday game, you'll get a 10-day stretch, but like we're playing on Thursday again, and we don't get that stretch until next week. Right before we play the Bills, we're probably the hottest team in the league right now, but other than the Lions. So it's just, it hasn't worked out in our favor. And the thing is, these damn Eagles will not go away. They just knocked out the Ravens.
I'm waiting for the end of the season collapse like they usually have, and
I know,
it's just not happening.
I know. Yeah, they're able to. I mean, they got Saquon now. Their D line is dominating. Like they're like, if the line, fast forwarding, if we're playing them in the NFC title game where they're coming here, I like the Lions' chances. But if we have to go there and play, like that scares me a little bit. It scares me.
And to trying to be a realist here, I still think we can beat Green Bay, and hopefully the 10 days off we'll get some players back for the Bills. So not jumping ahead to the Bills game yet. I think we can beat Green Bay, but there's also I'm nervous, and I'm not gonna lie or say like there's a chance that we could see back-to-back losses here.
Yeah,
it's possible on how our team. We're tired. We've been battling every week. I mean, the whole team is beat up. And obviously Campbell has gotten this team to continue to rally and push forward and get these wins. And I'm not saying we're going to lose both games, but I think as Lions fans, as happy as we are of what's happening, I think we have to take a step back and realize there's a chance that we could see 2 losses or split. We might split these games.
Let me ask you this, and they actually did this topic on 97.1 today, and they were asking if somebody were to have you sign on the dotted line for them to split these two, would you do it right now? And you know what I mean? And I think I would. If I knew we would split these two, I think I would be good with that.
So let me ask you this question: Green Bay Bills, which one would you rather win or lose, or which loss would you rather have?
Well, obviously, I'd rather lose a Bills game just because that's an AFC out of conference, out of division.
That one doesn't hurt as bad.
It doesn't hurt as bad. We need to stay on top of the NFC North and NFC conference race.
Because this game has 3 factors to it, right? It's a division game, which is huge for us. Obviously, win the division. It's an NFC game. And it's a possible tiebreaker game down the line for either us in Minnesota, us in Philly, us in maybe Green Bay again coming down. Because, right now, Green Bay and Minnesota are in the playoffs.
Yeah, yep.
Right? They're the wild card team. So, and Philly's not losing. So, it's a huge game. And Philly beat Green Bay earlier this year as well.
Right.
So if you go by tiebreaker, so I don't know how that necessarily works when we play a team twice. If we beat them once and lose once, does Philly still get the tiebreaker over that? Because we still beat them and we have to play them twice.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what the I know they use the metrics, obviously record, but I think also one of the metrics they use is strength of
victory.
Well, that and common opponents.
Yeah. So and right now with Philly, we're already down to we're past common opponents because obviously it goes record, right? And let's just say the Lions lose one, okay, and we finish the season tied with Philly. The record's the same. Then it goes to common opponents. Right now we have the same. We both lost to Tampa. We both beat Green Bay. We both beat Dallas.
Okay.
So then it would drop to the next one, right? And so we're already going down the line. Right now we have it because we only have one loss. So hopefully it can stay that way. But trying to be realistic, if we end up with the same record, it's going to go all the way down to strength of victory at this point.
Yeah.
I wish they would go for points 4 because we're killing that.
Luckily I know the Lions have 2 tough games coming up with the Packers and Bills, and thank God those are at home. After that, the schedule does cool off a little bit. We got the Vikes coming home. We got to go to Soldier Field, which sucks.
It's going to be so cold.
I think, that's going to be could be if we don't land a number 1 seed, that could be a precursor to what we see in the playoffs. And then I know we got the Niners. But the Niners are dead. In my opinion, they're dead.
I'm not worried about them anymore. Their season,
that's a win. I think we beat the Bears. I think we'll get the Vikings again. It's going to come down to these next 2 games. We need to split. I don't think the Eagles are 10-2. I know they got to play the Commanders again. They got to go to Washington to play.
Okay.
And they have one other tough game. I don't know if it's the Steelers or what, but I just can't see the Eagles going and winning and going 4-1. I can't see that. I could see them going 3-2, and still they finished 13-4. Hopefully the Lions finish 14-3, which I think is very, very possible. That's just crazy to think. 14-3, like that's crazy.
And never ever has that happened. They've never had a season like that.
No,
I don't care how many games you're talking about. When they were playing 13 games, 16 games, 17 games, doesn't matter. That's never happened.
Well, how about when we were doing our predictions at the beginning of the season? I think you and I both were kind of at 12-5.
Yeah,
because the schedule was so tough.
Yeah.
At this point in the season, I was kind of doing some digging. The Lions have the most wins. Well, I guess about all the teams that are like vying for playoff contention, the Lions have 4 wins against teams above 500. No other team is 3 or less. So, the Lions have at least proven themselves.
Well, that will help us if it comes down to strength of victory or whatever the actual tiebreaker is.
Yeah, the Pack only have 1. They have 1 win against or above 500 team. I think the Eagles have 2 or 3. Everybody else is 2 or 3. I know the Pack have 1. So it's something interesting to think about. The Lions, their schedule has been tough, and they've really held up.
Yeah. Oh, they're proving they belong here.
Yeah, for sure.
Which I think is a good way to transition into this next question. We talked about this before. We have Campbell. You got Brad Holmes. I wanted to ask you, and this is for anybody. I mean, obviously, go on and comment. Give us what you think. Who has the biggest impact on this team? Dan Campbell or Brad Holmes?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
For one, I think it's a fun question to ask.
I mean, you could break it down so many different ways.
Yeah, and you can argue either side.
There's no right or wrong answer here.
No, for sure. If I had to pick one, I'm going Dan Campbell, just because he's been so responsible for creating the culture within that team. And you hear guys over and over and over and over again. They say, "I will run through a brick wall through that man." He's genuine. He's honest. He just seems to have a grasp of that team, and they've really just bought in. And then the whole city has just embraced it, that grittiness, that, it's just and even Campbell's he's even owned the past, like the past, like you've seen in Hard Knocks where he's talking about like, hey, read that wall. And it's just like haven't won a playoff game since 91, haven't won the division since 93, and haven't, you know what I mean? And he was just like, let's own it. And they have. And he's had to hire the coaching staff to get these guys to play. So I'm giving it to Dan Campbell. How about you?
I went back and forth on this one a lot. My ultimate decision is Campbell. But you could argue Brad Holmes. At first, I wanted to say Brad Holmes because he's finding these guys, right? St. Brown in the 4th round.
Yeah.
And obviously, I don't know how he is determining why we should draft these players when we draft these players. Obviously, outside of the 1st round guys, right?
Yeah.
So Holmes has an eye for these guys, right? He sees the potential in these players. And I think Campbell's the one that brings out that potential, right? Holmes sees it. I think he goes to Campbell. He says, hey, I got this guy, St. Brown, or, I got this guy, Jack Campbell, or whomever that we pick up in these later rounds. And, and Campbell, I think, brings the best out of these guys. He challenges the players, right? Yep. Like you said, he gets these guys so motivated and to do anything for them, right? And teaching them different ways of the game. And like you said, he has the coaches that comes in. I really think it's Campbell that has the bigger impact, but you can't have one without the other, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. If there's no Holmes, I think Campbell is still a good coach, but I don't think he gets the players that he needs to build the team that we have now. And that's the thing. If we had Brad Holmes and he brings in St. Brown, I don't think there's another coach out there that is going to develop these players the late round. We already know 1st round players are going to be good more than likely. But these later round picks, if you don't have a Dan Campbell, I don't think you get the productivity out of these players and have them become these Pro Bowl, all team players without. So you have to have both of them. So together they're they're inseparable. You have to have one, right? Our team is not what it is if any of them leave.
Oh, for sure. You look at like if you want to break it down to like what successful organizations have. For one, they obviously have good ownership who pretty much just get out of the way. They hire the smart people. You know what I mean? That's Brad Holmes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or like bringing in Chris Spielman and that crew to find the next guy. This case is weird because they brought in Dan Campbell first and then Holmes, but they've clicked very well. But like you have to have every single like duck in a row. So it's the ownership allowing the people under her to just to kind of do it. And then to hire the right people, Brad Holmes and assembling the office, the front office. And then you have the coaching staff. And then Dan's got to bring in the right position coaches and coordinators. And
it does seem a little backwards. It does seem a little backwards to have Campbell come in first.
Yeah.
And then Brad, because you would think the GM would want his pick and who his head coach is, but in our case, it worked out best. And those two are working out perfectly together.
Yeah, for sure. And I guarantee you there's a lot of organizations looking around at the Lions and like, well, they've been bad for so long. Like, what did they do? And they're going to be stealing, you know what I mean? Like our template. You know what I mean? Because even after the coaches, then you still need a quarterback. You need to have your O-line and D-line attack. You need to bring in certain players that fit your mold, and it's just like every single row has to be covered, and they've really figured that out. So those
teams can do whatever they want. There's only one Dan Campbell, and there's only one Brad Holmes. Nobody else is biting kneecaps. Okay, this is it. You can go try to steal our formula all you want. Okay.
Yeah.
You remember back in the day when they were like, "Oh, the Lions they're gonna follow the Patriot way." What a stupid mindset to have. The Patriots are only one way.
Yeah. And the NFL too is you really can't be that guy that tries to follow suit. Like I know it is a copycat league that they call it, but you have to be progressive. Like you have to set a new standard. And I think that's what the Lions have done. They set a new standard where like you look at Dan Campbell and like he just comes across as very genuine. And this, you know what I mean? But he demands a lot out of them. He's very different when you look at like the Belichicks and the old the Shanahans and the whoever else.
Sorry, we have a guest.
Oh, we got a special guest. She want to give her power rankings?
Yeah. She opened the door. I had her upstairs. She opened the door to the basement. Callie, say hi to the world.
Hi, Callie. Yeah, so no, it's really cool to see them like finally like figure it out, have every like area figured out. You know what I mean? Like it's it's crazy.
It's fun. It's been a lot of fun, and there's so much more to come. We got this season next. This has been great.
Yeah, they're set up for to have some success for the next few years. I feel like, and if they keep drafting and whatnot, and you know what, like our view could change in the next few weeks. Like Holmes had to go out and sign some guys off practice squads and off the couch, and if he figured something out there, then we might feel differently. Who knows?
We'll see. I mean, these guys. I mean, hopefully they come in. Campbell lights a fire under their ass too to get them to play. I mean, that's got to be tough, right? You haven't played. I'm sure these guys have been working out and training like they're supposed to be, just in case they get a phone call. But to just get thrown into a system that is 14 weeks into a season and be like, oh, and by the way, you're starting on Sunday. Or whatever, you're starting the next game. It's got to be a lot of pressure on them and to just try to figure this out. So, hats off to Holmes on finding these guys. I mean, I looked at some of these guys that we picked up. I think, they've had good careers so far. Obviously, I think they're mostly on the downturn. Otherwise, they would be starting somewhere in the NFL. But you know what? This is the sport. Next man up. And that's nothing against our guys that go down. But, hey, there's a chance for these guys that were sitting on a couch the last 14 weeks to get back at it for their career. And this is their chance. So hopefully they bring it.
Yeah, it'll be key using those guys as far as like key situations, plugging and playing. They're not going to come in and like, play 50 snaps and, make an impact that way, but maybe they can come in and make a play here and there.
Yeah.
That helps tilt the game a little bit.
Yeah.
Whatever. So, those are guys that have some veteran leadership and success. So, hopefully like we can utilize that because we need it desperately.
Bring it on. Let's go. Which it's great because of my next question for us with bringing in all these additions because our injuries. This is a fun one. I think this is good. It took me a while to think about it. But so if you could have any Lions player from the last 20 years to just plug into our system right now, who would you go with? Last 20 years, plug them in right now with the system we have. Who you going with?
It's a good question, and I did take some time to think of this, and I'm coming up with I'm going with Cliff Averill.
Okay.
And the only reason is, and I know the Lions have had some good players over the last 20 years: Calvin, Ndamukong Suh, Stafford, even had Golden Tate, this and that.
Yeah.
But I feel like what the Lions need right now is defensive line help. And Cliff Averill did have some success here in the 5 years he was here. He had almost 40 sacks, 16 forced fumbles. We could desperately use that type of production right now. So that's who I'm going with. I'm going with Cliff Averill. How about you?
So this question was brought up to me a couple weeks ago. And for the last couple weeks, my initial thought was Calvin Johnson. Plug him into this offense. You'd have St. Brown number 1, Calvin Johnson number 2, J-Mo number 3. And I like Johnson because he brought the size.
Yeah.
Right? J-Mo and St. Brown, smaller guys, fast as hell. But I thought having Calvin Johnson out there. But I took a step back this week because our defense is just so banged up. And the question is, plug in right now.
Right.
So I went with a defensive guy, and I went with Ndamukong Suh.
Okay, yeah.
Because I think we need the help on the defensive side. Now, I do have disclaimer with that. I want Ndamukong Suh before he got dirty, before he was stepping on people's heads and stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think his career definitely. We're not getting into that, but it took a turn at some point. But when he came here, he was dominant. He was dominant on that D line. He was getting to the quarterback, and I think that's exactly what we need right now. So initial thoughts, Calvin Johnson.
Yeah.
And I think that would boost our offense. We'd be even better than we are now. But today, we need defense.
Yeah. That Ndamukong Suh was my first go-to, but then I started thinking well, we have Reeder, we have McNeil, you know what I mean? But then I saw the injury report after that with Reeder being out today and Onwuzurike, and I'm like, so I get it.
That's exactly where my mind went.
Yeah. But so I get it. Like it was a force. I don't know if there was a time though, if he was ever not dirty.
Well, that's true. Maybe he was. Yeah, it just got worse and worse over his career.
Was ripped off Jake Delhomme's head, I think, in the preseason of his rookie year. But he was a nut, man. But he was damn fun to watch.
Yeah. So we're gonna add Suh and Averill to the team right now. I think that's gonna help our defense.
Oh God, yeah.
I think we'd be okay.
Yeah.
Call them up.
Sure.
Where they at?
Yeah, seriously.
We just need some bodies out there at this point. Shit.
Yeah.
No, that was a good one because that one took a lot of thought, right? Because you start going to the big name players right off the top of your head, and you're like, wait, there's guys that I'm missing. I went back the last 20 years. I was looking at our first round picks, and I'm like, damn, I forgot about this guy. I forgot about that guy.
I know, yeah. DeAndre Levy, he came to mind. Stephen Tulloch. We had Kyle Vandenbosch for a bit, but he was kind of past his prime.
Yeah.
We got him. Ezekiel Ansah. He had a good year. I kind of thought about him. Darius Slay. Actually, Darius Slay came up. What's that?
Eric Ebron.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was way at the top of the list. At the shit list.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. He was the first one to make the I don't want you list.
He's not even playing anymore, right? Like that's
No,
yeah,
he's probably still talking shit to Lions fans on Twitter or whatever. Remember
yeah.
he was
I'm
fighting
sure.
with all those fans online?
Yeah, it's like just shut your mouth.
He's a bum. You're a
Yeah,
bum. You're a dud.
yeah.
Dud.
He's a good. You know what else? He's still playing. He's actually still pretty good too. It'd been Darius Slay. I thought about him, but like it seems like our secondary is a lot better.
Yeah,
Like Darius Slay popped up. Dre Bly.
Dre Bly.
Um,
I got a Dre Bly jersey.
do you?
Because at the time I couldn't find a Jason Hanson jersey, and there was nobody on the team at that time that I actually want a jersey for.
Oh shit! We actually brought him back as a position coach. I don't know if he's still. This might have been last year. I
Yeah,
don't know if
I
he's
don't know
still
if
with
he's
the
still
team.
on the team, but hey, because when they brought him back, I heard about it. I was like, yes, my jersey is still good.
Yeah, it's still yeah. And if you got an old school Dan Campbell jersey too, it's still relevant.
Oh yeah.
All right,
All right, is it power ranking time? The Mike's
let's do
power
the power
ranking.
ranking. Yeah, I'm excited to
Oh,
get into this. Why don't you give me you start with your five, and then I'll give my five, and we'll go down the list like that. We'll just go back and forth.
okay. So for my number 5, I don't think a lot of people will agree with me. They've been calling them frauds all year long. They called them frauds last year, and I got the Minnesota Vikings. I know it's not a popular pick, but they can't lose. They find a way to win the games, right? They're
Yeah,
10-2. I don't think that you can deny the team being 10-2, right?
yeah,
Well, I can't go with the Baltimore Ravens. They got
yeah.
5 losses now, 4 losses.
Right.
Commanders are falling off, right? Pittsburgh was my next one, okay? But I just Vikings are finding a way to win, and I think the Lions will be able to take them out. But I'm giving them some love. I'm showing them some love this week. There's something to say about a team that just keeps on winning. Sure, they might be frauds, but they're frauds that are getting dubs. I mean,
Yeah.
they're 10 and
Well,
2. They're gonna go to the playoffs.
yeah, you can't deny a 10-2 football team. Like you really can't. Yeah, I hear you.
Who's your number
Because
5?
you know what's funny? Because I have them at 5 too.
You got to be kidding me.
Yep.
I was like, there's no
What's
way.
funny?
There's no way Cuz is gonna have them at 5. I was like, I'm gonna catch so much shit for this one.
I had because I originally had the Steelers too, but then I started looking at the Steelers, like who they lost to. Like the Steelers lost to the Browns, Colts, and Cowboys. Okay, like those are 3 shitty teams.
Yeah.
And then the Vikings have, they lost to the Lions and Rams. Okay, both of those teams are 500 or better. Okay, and then the Minnesota is number 1 in stopping the run, and they're number 5 in opponent points per game. So like their defense is legit. Like if you have an elite group like that, you have to give them some credit. I know, and honestly, if they had I don't know if Kirk Cousins was back there again or if a different quarterback was back there, I think people would give them more love. But I think just seeing like that they have Sam Darnold, who was kind of an afterthought,
Yeah,
but
he's
they
not
still
a big name
have
quarterback.
right. Like I think if he had it, like if there was a different name back there, people would give them more love. They still have Justin Jefferson, who's just a freak. And I really like their head coach, Kevin O'Connell. I think he's a fantastic coach. They haven't had a lot of success, but also too they haven't had the quarterback play. Like that's why they haven't gotten over the hump in the playoffs. But I
don't think they're getting over any hump this year, but I think they finally deserve some love in the power rankings.
They do. Yeah, I agree. All right, who do you got at number 4?
All right, so I got the Kansas City Chiefs. Because I don't even want them in my power rankings. You want to talk about a fraudulent team? They've won, I think it was 7 games this year. I think I saw by 1 possession.
Yeah.
Right? And you got the Lions and the Bills, who are not every game, but we're blowing teams out, right? And not every game. I'm not saying we're doing that every game, or the Bills are doing that. Like we're getting surefire victories, even if it's by 10 points. And the Chiefs are somehow. I'm not even gonna get into the whole referee thing. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying I can't put them any higher when you barely beat Carolina.
Yeah.
Barely beat the Raiders last week.
Yeah.
Right? You're not taking care of the teams that you're supposed to be taking care of by like large margins. You know what I mean? So they're still up there because they are 11-1. I will show them some love for they're just like Minnesota. They're finding ways to win, and that's what this league is. It's hard to get wins. I don't think that they're as powerful in the power rankings as the teams I have above them based on these close wins. Again, a win is a win is a win.
You're right.
Not arguing that. But as far as the power rankings, I had to drop them.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I actually heard a stat. I don't know if it was on the radio or something like that, but they were talking about the Chiefs and all these close wins, like, and how many they had stacked up. And they said that teams that normally do that, they usually get bounced in the first round.
Because you're eventually going to hit a team that is going to smack you in the mouth.
Right. Exactly. And so, are you going to go into my 4?
Yeah.
I have the Chiefs too.
Oh my God.
Are we going to have the same freaking
You
list?
got to be kidding me. We did not tell each other any of our power rankings.
No, we did not. And the reason why I did is these close wins, I think it's going to catch up with them. But then I started looking at their offensive and defensive rank like throughout the league. They're 15th in total offense. They're 8th in total defense. That's what's keeping them in these games.
Yeah.
They're 8th in total defense and opponent points per game, keeping them in the games. They're 19th in rushing offense and 22nd in turnover margin. Like, that is going to catch up with them. You know what I mean? So if we're on this thing of it's going to catch up to them, I think those are the stats right there that are going to prove that. Like, those aren't good numbers, especially on offense. Like, that's you got to be able to score a little bit. So that's kind of where I'm at.
That's funny. Okay, why don't you go with give your number 3?
Give my number 3?
Yeah.
I'm going the Philadelphia Eagles. They got the number 1 running. Is that what you have too? Probably.
I might as well just get it out of the way. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Good minds think alike.
I mean,
good mics think alike. The Eagles, number 1 rushing attack in the NFL. Their D line is dominant. They are number 3 in opponent pass yards per game. They just beat the Ravens. 8-game winning streak. Like, they're rolling. They got a lot of good things going for them. They're scary.
And Barkley coming out and rejuvenating his career, going to Philly, getting out of New York and going there. I mean, good for him on that.
Yeah,
they're a dangerous team this year.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they scare me. Like, if there's one team that, like a week or so ago, I didn't really think that there was a team that the Lions would have an issue with, but the Eagles right now look scary. I do not want to go.
Hopefully, we don't see them until end of January. So
you're right, and hopefully that game's at Ford Field.
Exactly.
Yeah. So.
All right. I can already tell that I already know who our 2s and 1s are.
I think it's pretty evident at this point.
Yeah. So, I mean, clearly the Jaguars are at number 2. I mean, without
are they going to have the second pick, you mean?
And Carolina's number 1. So, I mean, we can just end the power rankings right now.
Bryce Young. Yeah, Bryce Young. He's the man.
No, but I'm going to guess that you have the Buffalo Bills at number 2.
I do.
Yeah. I mean, as they should be. Josh Allen having an MVP season.
Yeah.
That team is rolling.
Yep.
Thank God. We'll see them in 2 weeks, and then hopefully, we get to see them again in, February.
You know what? That Lions Bills game is going to be fun, and hopefully we get some of our some of these injuries back. And I'm sure that's probably what Campbell's hoping for. Giving these guys a break this week. That's going to be a fun one to watch.
It's going to be a good game. Yeah.
That's going to be the ultimate test. Like, where the Lions are at with Allen and that team, and that's going to be tricky. Luckily, they're coming here, so hopefully the crowd gets up for that because we're going to need them.
But, thank God we don't have to go to Buffalo and play in some 10-degree, 20-inch snow blizzard. Did you see that last week? That was wild.
That was fun to watch. That was cool.
Fun. Those games are fun to watch. I would not want to be in those stands.
No. No, what's funny is that they don't even shovel, like they shovel like the aisleways and stuff like that, but they don't shovel off the seats.
No, they
So, like
show
there's just
people
like
just
30 inches of
sit
snow.
making seats out of the snow, rolling in the snow. They got all their snow gear on and everything.
Right. And then there's firing snowballs as soon as anybody does anything. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was a wild game.
The Bills Mafia, they're a different breed over there.
They are.
But
They are.
it would be fun to go to a Lions game in Buffalo and tailgate with those guys. But let's do it in like September, October.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't want to have to wear my hunting suit or my snowmobile suit to go to a football game.
Right, exactly.
Or my esophagus to freeze when I sip a beer. Yeah, no, I mean, just breaking down the numbers with the Bills real quick. They're 10th in total offense, and then they're number 1 in turnover margin. And then they're 6th in opponent points per game. So like they're doing it on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's a hard stop. And then when you have an MVP at quarterback, like good luck. So we'll see. I mean, they do like to choke in the playoffs, so hopefully that bodes.
Yeah, yeah.
But we'll see.
Number one, our Detroit Lions. Let's go. Yeah, I mean, I don't. Duh. There's obviously no better team out there right now. I mean, the Bills would be next on the list, and Philly based off the power rankings. Lions just keep on rolling. We keep talking about the injuries, but we keep finding ways to win. I mean, there's really not much more to say. We keep talking about how good this team is. They deserve that number 1 spot. I was checking other power rankings today because I check every week just to see where they put the Lions. They haven't moved. They're all still at 1 again.
Yeah, they deserve it. I mean, like they're plus minus or they're plus 180 in point margin. They're number 2 in total offense. They're number 2 in opponent points per game. 7th in turnover margin and 10th in total defense. I mean, and then they have the most wins out of anybody against teams over 500. I mean, like what else can you say? You know what I mean?
That's why you're number 1.
Yeah, exactly. They got a tough stretch coming up here. I kind of compare this to the Niners last year. The Niners lost 3 games in a row.
Yeah.
And they still managed to squeeze out hold on. Let's compare last year to this year too. Like, think about it. Last year, the number 1 seed was 12-5, the Niners. And then this year, like 12-5 might get you a wild card. Like it's unless you're playing in the NFC West or NFC South.
Yeah, because there's no way that the Lions are only going to win 1 more game and Philly's only going to win 2 more games. That's just not happening. They're both going to win at least 3 more games.
Well, let me ask you this really quick. So if you have to pick a win total to secure the number 1 seed, like what is it? Is it 14? Is it 15? It's hard to say. I know,
but it's right there at 13, 14. It's one of those two.
I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be 14 or 15, possibly 14 or 15 wins.
If you had to get 15 wins to get, I mean,
I know it's ridiculous.
It is, but
yeah, it's ridiculous.
Because
I agree.
Well, you got to think coming down to that last week. Us and Philly will both be in the playoffs. That last week, sometimes you're like, oh, we're going to rest our guys. It's kind of like a built-in bye week, take the week off. But if you're fighting for that first round, it's not going to be there.
You got to play.
And you get that in a lot of the past seasons. Like the first seed is already wrapped up by the last 2 weeks. Like there's no way you're going to catch them. Now you're just fighting for seeding between the other wild card teams.
Right.
But not this year. I think it's going to come down to, week 18.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think the final week we have the Vikings, right? I mean, shit, we could be battling with those two. Like
exactly.
You know what I mean? That could be the battle for the division too. Like if it, So who knows?
That's this week's power rankings. I said that's this week's power rankings. Again, once again, same as last week.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Yeah. So I know you want to talk a little college football because I think there was a big game over the weekend.
I think so. I don't know. I was hanging Christmas lights for most of it. So, but some people told me something happened. Yeah, no, honestly, like my thought going into like obviously you can see I'm a big Michigan fan, but going into that game knowing that Michigan was a 23.5 point underdog.
Is that what it was?
Like
23 points?
Yeah, I guess it started at like it went between 19 and 23.5, something like that. It was, but some people were telling me that like right before kickoff it went to 23.5, which is ridiculous. So like I kind of had it like, you know what, I'm gonna go hang Christmas lights and I'll put it on in the background. All right. So I would kind of get rolling my Christmas lights and I come back and check. I'm like, oh, all right, 7-3.
Pretty close game.
All right. That's a pretty close game. Like, all right, I'm sure Ohio State will open it up and take advantage of Michigan and this and that, and it just never happened. So finally, like second half, come in and it's what was it, 10-10, and I'm like, okay, I got to sit down and watch this because I have not been a part of, like, as far as a Michigan fan, I've watched a ton of upsets in the other direction with my team, like leaving crying and whatever. But this was different. This was different. Just being able to watch like that type of upset in real time, and it was crazy when it happened. Like I just started laughing. Like I'm like at the Joker in my garage laughing, just hysterically. And Megan and my stepdaughter Sophia come out, and they're looking at me like, "Hell is wrong with
you? You gonna make it?"
She's like, is this guy okay? So it was just it was hysterical.
Also, it wasn't a pretty football game by any means.
No, not at all.
OSU missed what, 2 field goals? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, a couple picks were thrown on both sides of the field. It wasn't, but yeah, the fact that Michigan held it, to me, Ohio State shouldn't be embarrassed. And that's not a knock against Michigan. They stepped up and got the win. But how embarrassing to be the number 2 seed. Oh, we should blow this team out and like.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, and it just proves that what we were talking about at the beginning of the show is how big these rivalries are. That it doesn't matter. Yeah. Michigan could have been 0-9 going into this game, and all they'd want to do is win this game, right? That's all that matters.
It's a psychological battle more than anything. It's a psychological battle just as much as it is a physical battle because
they hate each other.
Michigan winning 3 in a row. Yeah, Michigan winning 3-0. You know that's in Ryan Day's head.
Yeah.
And the talk of always, it's you need to win the rushing battle if you want to win this game. Because I think the last 20-something have been decided by the team who runs the ball better. You know what I mean? So, like, you watch Ohio State. Like, Ohio State, their strengths are all on the perimeter. They have, like, stud wide receivers and, this and that. But they just continue to try and –
They have first-round pick receivers. They got first-round pick receiving.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Abuka and then Jeremiah Smith, who's a freshman, but he's a stud. That Tate kid. But they continue, like they would get something going and then they would run the ball up the middle twice. And it's just like, why you guys just might as well just go bang your head against the wall. It's like taking a Ferrari. Okay? And like, okay, I have this nice clean pavement over here, but no, I'm gonna run it right through this motocross track. You know what I mean? It's just like, no, take the outside and just run with it.
It doesn't make any sense.
No, and Michigan has two. The only strengths on Michigan defense is right in the interior defensive line with Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant. They have 2 first-round picks there, and they just continue to try and hammer at those guys. Now, granted, when Ohio State would try and pass the ball, those guys were providing a lot of pressure, and I think that really got into Will Howard's head. So you have to, give them credit. And also, Ohio State was without their starting center, who's highly regarded, and then their starting left tackle. So it's like once you start losing guys on the trenches, like you can exploit the other team regardless of how talented they are.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and real quick too, like I started breaking it down, like okay, why does this keep happening? Like why is Michigan able to beat OSU these last 4 years? And it's come down to, in my opinion, it's one thing. Like, as soon as Urban Meyer left,
it's too much hair dye.
Too much that you got it. That's it. This shit's getting in his brain. He can't think straight. He's got to stop eating it. No, it's the rosy cheeks. Let's just face it. It's the rosy cheeks.
That's what it is. The rosy cheeks.
Yeah, the rosy cheeks and the hair dye. Like that, and it's Ohio. Like, come on.
The armpit of America.
Pretty much. Other than like Cedar Point. Cedar Point's pretty cool. Whatever.
I'm happy you guys got your win. I'm happy you guys got the win.
Yeah. It was. It's cool. It's just wild to think about, like finally being on that side of it, seeing like your team clearly underdogs and clearly underpowered, but to upset, it's fun in that regard, and to ruin, especially your rival season.
Yeah.
I know they can still go play for the Natty, but they're not. They're not going to.
No, they'll be in the playoffs, but they're not going to win anything.
No, they're not. Like, because they're soft, and like I was what I was getting at earlier was the reason why they aren't having the success as they are is so when Urban Meyer was there, they had a number of guys drafted defensive line wise. Your Chase Young, Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, those guys were all, three of them were drafted between 2016 and 2020, and they were all either second or third overall picks. Those were their stud defensive ends. They have not had a defensive lineman since Ryan Day took over. They have not had a defensive lineman drafted higher in the second round, and they've only had 3 drafted compared to Michigan. Michigan has had Hutchinson, Ajabo, Mozzie Smith, all these guys, and then they're about to have 2 more drafted in the first round this coming year with Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant. It all comes down to the defensive line.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just so important. Yeah. So I just wanted to kind of get that stat out there and leave it out for this program.
For the program?
For this program.
For the program. All right, we're going to transition. That's football. We got couple baseball questions. So we got a little fun question. All right, we'll throw this out there for everybody to answer. I think I can see what most people answers would be, but it's fun, right? So first one is it's a $1 million baseball question, right? So would you take $1 million up front right now, or would you take your chance at getting to swing at 50 pitches? Now all pitches will be in the strike zone, but you're going to see fastballs. You're going to see curveballs, forkballs, splitters, sliders, a knuckle. You can see anything. Okay. But they're all going to be in the strike zone. Guaranteed strike zone pitches. And for every hit you get $1 million. Now this is a MLB pitcher. And by hit, I don't mean just contact. I mean a hit. Like you have to make it to first base. Like you're running. So not just contact, because I think any of us could hit a little dribbler in front of home plate. But an actual hit. So you get 50 swings, and for every hit you get $1 million, or you can take $1 million up front.
Okay.
What are you taking?
What would I do?
You think you could get more than one hit? Or do you think you could get one hit, period?
I have 2 words for that. Hell no. I'm going to take the $1 million out front.
I think you have to.
I'm going to take the $1 million up front.
Right? I mean, I would love to think.
There's no way I'm getting a hit off a major league pitcher.
I would love to think that I could get 1 hit, maybe 2 hits, right? Especially if you know a strike's coming. But I'd be standing in the batter's box. I'd be standing there. I'd be like, so we're going to start throwing pitches? And Verlander or Nolan Ryan would be like, I'm 5 pitches in already.
Right, yeah.
Not even seeing the gas come by at 98.
Yeah, there's no chance.
It would be fun. I would love to be able to do that. Just 50 pitches. Swing. Can I just get 1 hit?
Yeah, I fly out enough and strike out enough in beer league softball, so I'm good.
Do you think?
Just give me the $1 million up front.
22-year-old Cuz could do it?
Probably not, because I probably would have had at least a few beers in me at that point in my life.
Sir, you cannot have beers in the batter's box.
Yeah. No, I would not have been of sound mind and sound body at that stage of my life to do that. Now, could you at that stage in your life? I know you played a little bit more baseball in your 20s than I did.
It's one of those things. I would love to think that I could do it.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe 1-2 hits, but I mean that's just me just thinking I could do it, but probably not. I mean, even when I played, I mean, I never saw anything in the 90s, right? And no one could actually throw. I mean, kids could throw curveballs and stuff, but nothing was falling off the table like what these MLB pitchers can do.
Right.
So, I mean, no, probably not.
Yeah.
There's a reason why it's less than 1% of anybody can make it to the pros, right? I mean, no, yeah, I would love to think that I could do it, but
I think people take for granted how tough it probably is to hit a major league pitch.
Yeah, it's so hard to make it, right? And it's so funny when you see all these, you go to these little league games and you hear the parents like, "Oh, my kid, he's got a good chance." Like, no, he doesn't. No, he doesn't.
We're going pro.
If someone's gonna go pro by like a young age, right? That you can just tell, and it's not little Johnny that hasn't hit 5 foot yet playing shortstop.
Right. Yep. Agree.
All right, you want to talk about this next one? This next thing that Rob Manfred came out and said the other day, because
this, and you know what's funny, when like these get leaked, you wonder if they do it on purpose to see the feedback. But the golden at bat rule, and if our listeners aren't familiar with it, what they basically come out and say is like, you could reinsert your best hitter into a situation if he already previously batted, and you can do it one time in a game. So that's something that kind of came up, and I'm hoping that this just came up in like their cocktail hour or something like that.
Somebody was drunk when they came up with this idea. But essentially, just so and like you said, you could bring it up, but and we broke it down earlier before the show. If you had Shohei Ohtani, just to give the listeners, more understanding, comes up, doesn't matter what he does at the at bat, hits a home run, strikes out, pops up, turn around, you could bring him in and bat again.
You're right.
Right, or he batted in, or your batter batted in the 8th inning, and now you're coming into the top of the 9th, and obviously he has 8 batters in front of him. You can insert him in one more time.
Right.
So,
or it's like, okay, how about I paint this picture real quick? It's the ALCS. You got the Yankees and Tigers. You got Skubal pitching, okay, and he's got runners on first and second, no out. Judge comes up, okay, and Judge strikes out, right? And then he could come on and reinsert Judge again. Like, I guarantee you, Judge is getting a hit. He's already seen Skubal pitch however many times. Like, he's going to connect this next go around. It's just,
and there's a difference.
Like, what are you going to do?
There's a difference from doing a back-to-back at bat than coming through the rotation again, right? Because if he's hitting off Skubal, and again, let's just use your scenario in the 9th. Okay, that's probably his 4th trip to the plate. So his 4th time seeing Skubal, because we're assuming Skubal's in there in the 9th, pitching a whole game. There's a difference from when you faced him in the 7th inning to 2 times in a row. So right off the get, it's not fair to the pitchers.
Right.
That was my first thing that I thought of about this was it's not
right. Well, okay. So how can the pitchers like counter that? Can you reinsert pitchers again? Can you do they get like a counter to that on the opposite side, or is it just
so imagine if so the rule with pitching now is if you come into the game, you have to face 3 batters, right? So
as a pitcher. Okay,
that's one of the new rule changes. So so say I come in, I'm pitching, right? And Aaron Judge is up, right? But I got to face 3 pitchers, and I get him out once, and then you're going to turn around and put him back in. I should be able to, as a manager, take my pitcher out and not have him face 3 batters if you're going to use your golden at bat rule, because that's not fair. Now I have to face him again because I have to face 3. So I get no advantage, but you get to have your number 1 hitter come in again.
Right.
I don't like it. It's such a disadvantage to pitching unless you would add in another rule. But now, what are we playing? Backyard baseball? Is the Savannah Bananas?
That's kind of it. Just seems very gimmicky, and it doesn't seem like it works with the game. You know what I mean? It just kind of seems like it's just like, okay, well, why don't we in football, just give like a mulligan rule. Like, okay, you failed your 4th and 3. Like, okay, well, try again. You know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
want to retry. I'm
Like,
going to retry that down again. Yeah.
yeah, let me retry that down. I missed that kick. Let me retry that again.
And there's something,
It just
and
seems really silly.
I understand people don't like change. I think baseball, some of the rule changes that have come up in the last couple of years, I would say majority of them I like. I understand you're trying to speed the game
Yeah.
up. I understand you want to get more people involved, but there's something to baseball too, and maybe this is just because I'm baseball at heart through and through, right? Raised on it.
Sure.
I know you have been too, and so many people are like that with baseball. There's one thing to make changes and certain rule changes, but don't mess with the sport, right? It's the way it's been since the 1800s. All right. Don't come in here and make
Yeah.
a stupid rule change like this, right? You want to add a pitch clock?
Yeah.
Not mad about it, right?
Yeah. No, I agree.
You're
And,
doing too
like,
much. Don't mess with the game.
yeah. Right. I agree, like keeping the integrity of the game, but I also agree with evolving the game. Making certain changes based on because the players are different, like the atmosphere is different. So like I agree with making changes, and like you and I were talking about like before the show, some of the changes we do, like the mound visits remaining, the what else, the pitch clock.
Yeah.
Like those things I feel like those are very positive changes.
They are. It does speed up the game.
And those make
But
sense.
this golden at bat is, it's
just so gimmicky.
It's too much. That's not evolving the game. Just because your viewership is down doesn't mean you need to add these gimmicks, like you put it. It's stupid. I don't like it. You can't change the game that way.
Right. It just seems like somebody would like ask about that rule if they didn't really understand the game very well. They're like, well, why can't you just bring in somebody randomly whenever you want? You know what I mean? Like you can in football, and it's a different game. It doesn't work like that. And I just feel like it would really disrupt for instance, really, like we just watched AJ Hitch like completely like strategize his way through into the playoffs. Like what? Like that's gonna like really take him out of the game after that, because he could just I set my lineup, or I set my starters and my pitchers to deal with the lineup like this. I'm like, well, you can just bring some random like guy who just got an out back in. Like it just doesn't. It just seems silly.
I don't like it. Don't mess with baseball too. You want to do it at the All-Star game or something? Go ahead, because All-Star game doesn't mean anything. Yeah. You want to do it there, but do not implement this rule. It's dumb. So yeah. Short answer, yeah. Hell no. I hate this rule.
No, yeah, I agree.
This is stupid.
Yeah, I have to give it some thought. Like I think you and I both were, when we heard it, we started thinking. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe. But then I think once we started kind of thinking about it, you're like, no, like this doesn't make any sense. Like it just doesn't. It just seems so gimmicky and stupid, and it just takes away the integrity of the game. And I know what they're trying to do with baseball. They're trying to speed the game up, trying to make it more exciting. But what they need to really focus on, in my opinion, is trying to make meaningful games. They have 162 game season.
Exactly.
And you know what I mean? And it gets to a point at like game 100 or game 110 where like these games just don't matter anymore. Like it's just so repetitive and so redundant until you get to the playoffs. In the playoffs this year, the viewership was up like a 7-year high.
Yeah.
Like people were tuned in because the games matter.
They definitely had higher ratings this year, but I don't think making a rule change like this. And like the other thing with this rule change is you're going to inflate certain players' stats that will go down in history.
Yeah.
Is that fair that you're going to get more at bats during a game than?
Yeah, it's not a level playing field. Yeah, I agree.
I don't like it. But I want to ask you this before we end the show quickly. If there was one rule change that you would get rid of, not add, but get rid of right now, what would it be in baseball? Whether it's a 100-year-old rule or if it's one in the last 5 years.
Yeah, I don't like that they got rid of the shifting. I don't like that they got rid of that. I thought that was an interesting strategy for managers. I liked it. I like to see that, and it kind of forces the hitter to
hit out.
right. It forces the hitter to stop, doing what he normally does. Like, hey, I can plan around. It's like a defense in football. I can load up one side. I can load up the box, or I can, you know what I mean? I can do this. Why can't I do it in baseball? I don't like that one. Another one too, I guess, real quick, an honorable mention would be the minimum of 3 batters faced. I don't know if I care about that. If I like that as far as like a pitcher
No,
too.
and that was just to really speed up the game instead of like one batter, new pitcher, one batter, new pitcher. I get why they did it, but it's also baseball is a mental sport and it's a chess match.
Yeah.
So if you have, as a manager, think that you have a better chance of getting this guy out with a different pitcher, then you should be able to do it. Yeah, I understand it slows the game down, but if that's going to get you a win, then that's what you go with.
Right. Yeah, I agree. How about you? What's the one rule you would get rid of?
I do not like the added player at second base in extra innings. I don't like it that they added the ghost runner, whatever you want to call it. These are professional players. Earn your run, right? Because a guy has a base hit gets a run in, right? We already know that. I don't like it. Right. Come out there, earn it, right? Get rid of that rule. Okay. Again, I understand it's to speed up the game. I don't like it. I don't earn your wins. I'd get rid of that. Otherwise, I like all the other rules. I agree with what you said. But that one really, that just bugs me that they do that.
Yeah, I get it because it doesn't. I'm kind of 50-50. When I first heard that they were implementing that rule, I was like, this is retarded or ridiculous.
Yeah.
And but now looking at it, like I'm 50-50 on it. Like I'm okay with it, but I'm also like, if they got rid of it again, I'd be fine with it too. I get kind of why they did it. I don't necessarily. I guess I'm okay with it, but I can see both sides of the argument. So, yeah, I don't know. Like I just feel like they're trying to like improve the game in areas that don't need tweaking. Like they need to look at other ways to improve, like interest in the game. And I think they need to find a way to make meaningful games, whether it's like I brought up the idea of like an in-season tournament or something like that. They need to like make games interesting and fun.
They do, because it's such a long season.
Yeah, for sure.
And
we know they're not going to cut the season down. They're not going to trim the season down by 20. They're never ever going to do that.
Yeah.
But so I don't know. So yeah.
All right. Before we get out of here, one more thing. Stud and duds.
Stud and duds, baby.
Studs and duds.
All right.
So my dud for the week, I'm going with the Chicago Bears. Just the whole organization. Eberflus, Caleb Williams, everybody, they botched the end of that game, which, I mean, I'm not mad about because we won, but like, I don't know what the hell they were thinking, but that's my dud of the week.
Yeah, you know what? They continue to just like they kind of seem to be in that pattern the Lions used to be in, where it's just like every few years. Like it started with Lovie Smith. Lovie Smith had some success, brought in a new coach. He would show a little bit of success, but then as soon as they bring a new quarterback in, let's fire him. And it just they've been on that cycle for the last
finding ways to lose.
Yeah, just been on that cycle for a long time now. Luckily, they play in our division, and it usually benefits us. But that's I can agree with that.
Who do you got?
My dud. And this is kind of
I don't know.
My dud is going to be. This is kind of weird because it doesn't like. Oh, you got yours too. Nice. My dud is going to be Ryan Day. That guy is just a dope, and I'm thankful in a way that he is.
Yeah.
Ohio State's coach because we've been able to take advantage of him, but like just seeing like his like the game plan to beat Michigan, a 7-5 football team. Then to see him after the game when that brawl's going on, and he's just like,
he's just standing there doing nothing.
Yo, what's going on? Right. It's just like, man, come on. So that's my dud. He just does not have He's got it like literally. He's got a Ferrari at his fingertips. He doesn't know what to do with it.
That's why he's a dud.
He's a dud.
All right, stud. Throwing you some love this week. My stud's U of M, just all around for coming out there, embarrassing Ohio State, getting the W.
Yeah.
So I'm happy for them. I'm glad they did it. Ruin Ohio State's season is perfect. I got to give them. They're my stud of the week.
Yep. I feel it. Mine's kind of along those lines too. I'm giving it to Mason Graham, Michigan stud defensive tackle. He just, without him, they wouldn't have won that game. And he's just been a force these last few years. And he's, bought himself a top 5 draft pick coming up in this NFL draft. So, shout out to him. He's been a stud. Stud. Yeah.
Good times. All right. I think that's going to wrap up this, our first video show.
Yep. We're live now.
That's right. This has been great. This was a lot of fun. I hope you guys all enjoy it. Don't forget to, subscribe and follow us and all that good stuff. And look forward to doing more video podcasts.
Criticize, whatever.
Whatever it takes.
That's it.
All right, guys. Everybody have a good week. Go Lions. Let's go. Cheese graters.
Yep. Let's go. Get that cheese grater out, baby. That's it. Yeah, hold on. I got Gibby.
That's right.
Gibby's ready.
Let's go. Let's go Lions. LFG, baby.
Let's do it.
All right, everybody have a good night.
Have a good night, everybody. Thank you.